Lovely internet peoples, and welcome back to Story Time with Mom. We are moving on to the third chapter of the Book of Sorrows. This chapter is written in the voice of the collective hive rather than individuals. So let's go on. Hive. Let us speak of the terrible beauty of becoming ourselves. In the beginning, we rode hollow moons from star to star. Oryx said, become as numerous and fertile as seeds in rich flesh. And thus we did become numerous. Sivu Arath said, become as hungry and defiant as tumors in rich flesh. And thus we became cancerous. Savathun said, drink of the poisons of the worm so that you might feed on death. And we did feed. This was preparation for our crusade. We were thus becoming. A mother wizard gets fertility from a mate, or from herself. From the wizard the spawn, from the spawn our thrall. From the survivors, our acolytes who contend. If they contend well, their worm is fed, and from the well-fed worm come knights and wizards and princes. This is us, and our purpose is liberation. Our great task is the worship and admiration of freedom. Our great hunger is to pursue and eat that which is not free, and to liberate it with devouring. Ayat. This is us, we the hive. An incision. Saith Oryx, my siblings, our children are scattered across many moons, and we live in the cold dark between suns. What will we eat? How will we speak? Savathun said, Oryx, my brother and king, I have studied the wounds cut by the worm our god. Also, I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice the sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. But Sivu Arath said, Sister, I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space. And she cut her way between moons through green fire and joyous screams. 3 kingdoms grew swollen in the sword space. They were the gaze and glory of Oryx, the cunning and knowledge of Savathun, the triumph and brawn of Sivu Arath. These kingdoms were created from the minds and worms of our lords. They were coterminous with all spaces consecrated by our hive. Through these spaces passed speech and food, and all the moons were bound close. Saith Oryx, this is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here, for I am Oryx, the first navigator, and I shall chart death, and my throne shall be carved of Osmi. The High War. Now in this time of diaspora, there was a war between Oryx and Savathun and Sivu Arath. Brother Oryx said, Savathun, do not forgive my betrayal. Instead, take vengeance upon me for what I did at the dry moon. And Oryx make war on her in worship of the deep. Between them stood Sivu Arath, saying, Stop, or I will kill you. War is mine, and I am strongest. This was how they worshipped. For 20,000 years they fought across the moons, and they fought in the abyssal plains and lightning palaces of each other's sword spaces, and they killed each other again and again so that they could practice death. Such was their love. At last the many moons came to many worlds, and it was time to go to war on life. Oryx said, I shall establish a court, and whoever comes into this court may challenge me. My court will be the High War. It will be a killing ground and a school of the sword logic we have learned from our gods. Savathun thought this was a great idea. she made a court called the High Coven. Sivo Arath said, "The world is my court, wherever there is war."